understand why. I think that is everything correct that was said about that this complex information sphere was even older than in the case of this 2013-2014. It began even earlier with information about the gas wars and different milk products boycott and something like that. It also formed negative image. But I think that the key event which formed this conflict possible, like to make an agreement for the local people to this conflict, was in the case of Euromaidan. Because in 2013, in November, events happened in Kiev, which was on the beginning of a pro-European course. Later it transformed on anti-Yanukovych moods. And everything that people can understand about conflict from all parts of Ukraine, and also the same from all parts of the world, they understand according to the different media sources. And what is specific for the Ukrainian case and for the Donbas region case, it is that, and also in Russian case, that the key role of mass media that was in this territory was the role of television. Because according to the sociological pool, the mass media is the second social institute after the church, which is the most trustful in Ukraine. And the same according to the sociological pool in Russia, it is, as I remember, third position also by trust. And television is watched by the 70% of Ukrainian population in general, so it's the most powerful sources. And Donbas region, as a main television and the main information sources, they take the Russian television channels and as well Inter channel, and as well first national Ukrainian government channel, which was in that period controlled by the regime of Yanukovych. And if I make a comparison between two data sources, what's the level of trust of the different regions of Ukraine to the political institute after the regime of Yanukovych breakdown, to the new prime minister, new person who was affecting this function of president. He was not president, Turchinov, and others, and make a comparison about mass media and how they shows all these personalities and what they create as more priority lines to show how they call protesters, how they call these new elites which came, and this equally was understandable. This theory is proved that the people who watch, for example, Gromadske channel, it is the only channel in Ukraine which is not independent from the oligarchs, but it is internet mass media. All of the majority of people, 90%, they supported Euromaidan and supported new elites. But others, it's divided, because in Ukraine, a lot of all of mass media which was in public space, in television, you can see it's divided because different oligarchs. For example, Poroshenko have his fifth channel, a lot Pinchuk, he ordered 3 channels. It's STB, new channel, and ICTV, yes, you well. And Rinat Akhmetov, he controlled Ukraine channel. And it was, and as well, Kolomoisky controlled 1+1 channel. It was obvious that all audience of these channels is separated according to the interest with this oligarch support. And the most negative intention to Euromaidan was by the eastern part of the Ukraine and Crimea. And the main sources for this territory was Russian channels and channels Inter. And later, when we can see, according to the data which create Telecritica Media Sapiens project, they analyzed which clusters, filters use mass media, what the event was hidden. For example, it was the same date after the February of 2014, and different mass media decide to show this aggressive part of the conflict as one possible way. The second is from another. Some of mass media shows that are just about the Berkut police was beaten by the aggressive, crazy protesters. Some mass media just showed that just protesters peacefully just was beaten from Berkut. And this all formed understanding as of this new elite which come and they are supporters as a good one or as a bad one. And thus this media created frame by Russian media, and a part of Ukrainian media was supported when the invasion of the Russian forces and partly with local separatists began. And it was formed with two ways of new understanding of framing. The first one was creating the old Soviet one with this addressing to the post-Second War period about this fascist issue, because all these people protesters who had the pro-Ukrainian position, as we all discussed earlier, they described as an enemies, and it was coding by this fascist term. And the good one term was like new, creating to unite the right part of Ukrainians who think like pro-Russian moods. They was coded like protesters, and Russian forces also was in Donbass. They also called like with a positive words. And this language coding, it also all was actual with both sides of media. It's not correct to say that it was just Russian propaganda, but as we told before, it's like offensive and defensive propaganda, and offensive and defensive spreading the information. It all separated to the black and white parts. And what is interesting, it was necessary to recreate this understanding of Ukrainians and Russians for the Russian mass media, because as general, Ukrainians earlier understand as a brother nation who has had a lot of common with Russian, and it was necessary to create this new enemy image. And it was based on the all identities and all understanding of the enemies after Second World War. What I want also to add that key is different situation and imaging about war conflict in Donbass. Also, it's important that a lot of mass media don't show everything that was affected on this area where conflict is. And it is, according to the theory, mass media play a role as a mediator, because when you have just two ways how you can create your understanding of some events. The first one, you are actually in this event, you see everything by your own eyes and you understand it. The second is to find some other source of information and to base your opinion about this event on this source of information. And according to the Stewart whole theory of coding and decoding, it's not just easy that some persons see some propaganda or some information message and they automatically understood that it is true. No, there are several barriers that is based on a previous experience of this person about values, about also identities, and each person had inside some barriers and some filters that can put some information inside and be trustful and something away. And in case of propaganda, majority of Ukrainians, they understand that Russia mass media, they show everything incorrect, because in case, for example, in Euromaidan, because people who participate in Euromaidan, they show and see and understand this conflict on the other way. But the same is, for example, with local people in the Donbass region, because Ukrainian mass media can show not everything about the events that happened in this area, and later these people, local people, also started to lose trust to the Russian mass media, because they don't show everything that was cares about these people or death as well. So, people who choose these information sources as their main in another territories which not perceive these events by their own eyes, they understand it by the mass media. Yes, and I want to conclude that this information war is addressed to the two audiences, mainly to the inner audience of the country, for the citizens of the country, for the citizens for the Donbass people, and the second is to international image about country, because everything that is shown with mass media, they also translate it into international mass media, and this mechanism about mass media as mediator works as well. And for example, in case of air crash of MH17, a lot of mass media, they also was responsible of what image about Ukraine will be in the West, and in the first hours after the information was about this tragedy, it was a responsibility of mass media how they will show this content, because there are no official result of some facts or something like that. It was information about two sides, and mass media also, international mass media, they also play a role in this information war between Ukraine and Russia, not just their inner mass media.
Alright, so now we have on the table 3 very nice presentations covering different aspects